Commissioners meeting 15th of September 2016.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, any changes to the agenda that anyone has?
I'd like to pull, I think it's D 2.5 off the consent agenda for discussion. It's, KYMEA.
2.5.
D 2.5.
Any other changes? Okay. We're going to start this morning with our annual external audit, and Stan is going to be presenting today.
First of all, I'd like to thank the board for the opportunity to present.
Why don't you stand up here where I can see, if you don't mind standing.
Where's my podium?
Got me too.
Like I said, I'd like to thank the board for the opportunity to present the financial statements. And I'd also like to thank everybody involved, management and staff, for their assistance and cooperation. Terry, of course, Lynn, Chris, Missy, he's not here, and of course, Jamie. And it was a smooth audit, and we didn't encounter any significant difficulties, which you'll see in our required communication. So without further ado, I guess I'll go ahead and get into the independent auditor's report. Everybody has a copy of their audited financial statements. If you'll turn to page 1. There it is. I'm just going to briefly go over our report. Talks about management's responsibility, which is they're responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements in accordance with GAAP. Our responsibility, of course, is to express an opinion on these financial statements based on our audit. And if you look down at the bottom of the page, you'll see our opinion. And for the sake of time, I'm going to just talk about this one report. And if you look on page, I believe it's page 41, but you don't have to go through that. It's the same report for the waterworks system, and they're basically the same. And if you look at the bottom of the page, the opinion, and we call this an unmodified opinion or, quote, clean opinion, and that basically says that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects financial position of OMU as of May 31st, 2016. Turn to the second page of the financials, or the report. Talks about an emphasis of matter, and all that is, it stems from prior year, the adoption of GASB 68, which deals with pensions. And since we issue comparative statements, we still leave that footnote or that statement in our report. Underneath that, other matters, we talk about required supplementary information. All we do is we tell you that management's discussion and analysis and the schedules for the proportionate share of the net pension liability and the schedule of contributions that are in the financial statements, they're required by the GASB, but we did only perform limited procedures on those. And then the last paragraph down there, other information, talks about other supplementary information, which is the schedule of revenues and expenses. And we did subject that to the auditing procedures, but it does not require supplemental information. If anybody doesn't have any questions on that, about the only changes this year, I guess, in the audit report, we did have some additional disclosure. Of course, GASB 68 was implemented in prior year, and we had a few extra or additional disclosures because of that implementation. This year we had another GASB with 72. It talks about fair value, and we have a few additional disclosures for that, but nothing that changed accounting policy. And if you'll look in your financial statements, the GASB 68 disclosure begins on page 28, and it just has some additional disclosure for the second year that it's been implemented. And then on page, let's see, page 19, we talk about fair value. And that's the new GASB 72 disclosure. And like I said, it's only disclosure. It didn't change any accounting policies or any adjustments to the financial statements as it did in the prior year for GASB 68. Are there any questions or comments on the financial statements at this point? I know JT wants to talk about GASB 68, but he can get with Jamie.
Please.
Well, if there are no more questions, then we'll go on to the required communication. If everybody has a copy of that, there's two letters, additional letters that are enclosed or attached. And this is professional standards do require that we communicate to you the following information that's related to our audit. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to go over the electric one. Now, the water one will be almost similar, except for one little paragraph. If we'll look down there in the middle of the page, under significant audit findings, the qualitative aspects of accounting practices, we state that there's no new accounting policies adopted in the current year, and none of the existing policies were changed. Of course, last year we had to tell you that we did implement GASB 68, but this year, even though we implemented GASB 72, it was only a disclosure change. It didn't change any policies. In that same paragraph, we talk about there were no transactions that lacked authoritative guidance or consensus, and all significant transactions were recognized in the financial statements in the proper period, which that just refers to accruals. The next paragraph, we talk about estimates. The most sensitive estimates, of course, are the estimate of unbilled revenue, evaluation of utility plant. Of course, we evaluated the key factors and assumptions used to develop those estimates, and we determined that they were reasonable. Last sentence on the page, we encounter no significant difficulties dealing with management or performing our audit. If y'all want to turn to the next page, we talk about corrected and uncorrected misstatements. Of course, professional standards require us to accumulate all misstatements identified during the audit and communicate them to the board. And we have an attached schedule that summarizes misstatements. And if you want to turn to the back of the attachment on the back of the letter, we had one, we like to refer to it as an unadjusted audit difference. And this is a audit adjustment that we propose, but management for some reason does not record it, and for our purpose it's immaterial, and that's why we did not record it. And if you can look under the income statement, because of the effect of prior year, we reversed the net effect, and the net effect of 2016, the cumulative net effect on the income statement is only $15,000 this year, which was clearly immaterial. And the effect to the assets was about $650,000, which for purposes of materiality in our audit is we do not have to propose it. We do a materiality calculation every year. It's dependent on certain criteria, and our materiality threshold this year I think was 1.4 million, so it's well under the threshold for materiality. And if y'all want to talk to Jamie later, this may be corrected in a couple of years due to another GASB that's going to be coming out, and it had to do with the GASB 68 pension implementation 2 years ago. And JT knows all about that also. Going back to the report, after corrected and uncorrected misstatements, next paragraph we talk about disagreements with management, which there is no such disagreements arose during the audit. Next paragraph, we did obtain a management representation letter from management dated September 6, 2016, which was the date of our exit conference, date of the report. Next paragraph, management consultations. Of course, to our knowledge, there were no consultations with other accountants. And that's if they had wanted to get a second opinion on some type of accounting policy or recording a transaction or something. Paragraph after that, there were no other audit findings or issues. And then we talk about other matters in the last paragraph, and it just tells you about the limited procedures that we do perform on the MD&A and the other two pension schedules in the back of the report. We turn to the last page. We also talk about the other supplementary information, which is just the schedule of revenues and expenses. And we just tell you that it's not required supplementary information, and we do auditing procedures on that. Last paragraph, restriction on use, and this information contained in this document is intended solely for the use of the City Utility Commission and management of OMU. And like I said, this letter basically mirrors the one that was issued for water, but that's a required communication for each audit that we perform. And that's about all I had. If anybody's got any other questions or comments?
Questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate all the work you guys do on
All
this.
right. Thank you.
You made a motion to accept the audit or not?
I didn't see one.
Yeah, we can.
Do we accept the external audit as well?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
All right. All right, the first discussion item we have is the approval of electric system bond refunding. And this is the matter we brought to you during the work session a couple weeks ago, approximately $40 million bond refunding, net present value of about $3 million. It does not increase the term of our debt, and we still maintain the same term of the debt. Only interestingly, you'll see an item on here to approve an underwriter as well. Underwriter's estimates now are coming in with even interest rates lower than what we had anticipated. We had anticipated around 1.89, and we've gotten an estimate as low as 1.7%. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lynn. She's got a quick presentation to go. Oh, okay. Well, then we don't need to unless you have any questions.
Does that require 2 readings for the City Commission?
Yes,
So the timing of that is still...
October 4th and October 18th.
Yeah. We're trying to rush it through as quickly as we can to try to.
That's already down.
Yeah, in discussing with the underwriter, there's a risk that rates could increase by the Fed in September. Their opinion is that we won't see any action in September. We could see rate action by the Fed in December. And that would be the one thing that could potentially impact the TIC, the total interest costs that we pay. So we'll have to see how that works out.
And if we get to the sale date, that last week, we can push it off, and we don't have to sell or refinance.
Under that fifth item down there where it says refunding, 2016 refunding supplemental bid, the fifth item. The very first paragraph, it says, in the aggregate principal not to exceed blank, and it doesn't have any numbers in there.
Because we don't know what the sale is
You
going
don't
to
know
be.
what that is.
I mean, it's
Okay. I thought that
going
may
to
be
be not
that.
exceed 50 million.
Huh?
But we think it's going to be around 42 million.
Okay. But you
And we're asking for authority from you and from the City Commission to issue up to 50 million,
Okay.
because we don't know exactly.
Well, I saw the 50 million
Yeah.
right down
The
somewhere else.
bond
under that.
council rushed these documents through
Okay. Okay. So that'll be filled in before
before the sale.
they vote on it, I guess, the city commission votes on it.
That's right.
That's all the question I have. Thank you.
Motion approved. Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. The next item is our healthcare insurance option premium recommendations. Again, this is the document we went over with you in the work session. You've had a couple weeks to think about this, and we're asking for your approval on these modifications to our health benefits options for employees.
Make a motion in the language of the recommended motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I only had one question. What do you think your savings are going to be? 10%, 20% adding in the health service plan? I mean, have you got a number on that? Have you figured that out?
It would all depend on how many people take it, and we're at this point thinking there's probably going to be 10 to 15% take rate on that.
Okay.
and it depends on the claims. So if you go by history, you can look at potentially saving up to, $80,000.
But our
on a $4
consultants, did
million
they give you
spend.
any kind of idea what you might
Yeah.
expect, I mean, as far as savings?
You're looking at anywhere 5 to 7% was what we,
Okay.
it depends on the take rate. And it also depends on the medical claims, but if you look at this year's, or 16's claims, it could be anywhere from 5 to 7% of a $4 million spend.
What kind of feedback you got from employees?
The article gave us a lot of conversation with our employees, and at this point, I think it's, they want to see more details. So until we get it approved, and right after this, we'll start communication and rollout, it's change. So they're hesitant until you explain it to them.
They're curious about it. 'Cause
Curious,
there's
that's a
some
good word to use.
Different numbers.
I think the great thing for employees is that, our vendor will be sitting down with each of them individually to kind of discuss what's the best option for them based on their claim history and what their situation is. So Peel and Holland will be sitting down with every employee based on what they think they're going to be spending next year on healthcare. They'll be going through and identifying what the anticipated out-of-pocket cost would be for each of the employees so they can make a more informed decision.
It's not like
No, it's tough.
That will
it's very
help a
tough.
lot, having an individual circumstance discussion.
Those are all going to be based on assumptions and things of that.
Well, yeah,
nature,
you got
too.
to make some sense.
Is that just something they offer or something we require them to do?
We require it as part of their administrative fee.
It's part of their contract that we have with them. Any other questions?
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
All right, next item is our tobacco-free workplace policy. I know we have posted this up. You've had a little time to review it. And as with all policies, this is the policy of the Utility Commission, not the policy of management. So this is our recommendation. I think, Mr. Chairman, it would be a good idea to open the floor up to comments, maybe before we take a motion, to make sure that there are no changes, or recommended changes by the board. That way we wouldn't have to, if there are changes, we can make the changes and then have a motion to accept the new version.
Who would like
Who
to
wants
go
to go
first?
Usually you have a motion for discussion. That we get approved.
Motion made, I'll second it. Now you can open it up for discussion.
Who wants to go first, man?
Well, I mean, I like the idea of having a smoking policy. I think it's very important and actually pretty commonplace to have work-free zones for tobacco. But as I expressed in email to all of you, I really do not like the provision for possession. I think that's unnecessary, overstepping, and I think it's virtually unenforceable anyway. So,
My position, the possession thing is okay if it's in an OMU vehicle building, but if it's in a personal vehicle, or, I can't see that being a reasonable expectation. I can, and it could lead to some kind of issues by other people throwing something in somebody's truck and turning in. Also, I'm curious, just for my knowledge, at the end of this thing, it says subject to disciplinary action, and I would like to have a description of what that disciplinary action might be if you're in violation of this policy.
Yeah, we have, by policy, we have a progressive disciplinary action policy at OMU, and Michael, you want to run through the three phases?
And basically, what you're looking at is verbal warnings, written warnings, suspension, and then up to and including termination. So going through a progressive process, and depending on which classification of employee you are, when you get to the like civil service and stuff, we would go through the avenues of working with Pat to write up the charges and those types of things. But definitely having lots of verbal discussions and written discussions before we ever move forward with the suspension or termination on something like tobacco-free.
That includes contractors also?
And contractors are a little different.
I'm asking.
Yeah, contractors are different than employees. So basically, they have to, all of your policies and procedures they have to abide by. So you would work with them, But we have every right if that contractor, we can remove that person from the site or ask them to bring somebody else in. But I would hope that we would be, working through the same type of things, giving them a warning like we would our employees. But we don't owe that to the contractors. They have to abide by all policies and procedures. They're subject to being removed from the site if they don't, especially safety policies.
I think I have a problem with that is we seem to have more and more approvals of people that can only do this one job. I know we're a very technical, specialized service that we offer, but every meeting we have at least 4 or 5 that this is the only guy, this is the only company that can do it. So they're on the job doing it, and you say, hey, you can't do that. You can't even have it in your pocket. And he said, I'm out of here. So we're 3 months, we don't get the job done. Okay? So I can see in some cases where you can say, well, you're not going to get our business anymore. But there's some cases where you have to use their business according to your all's recommendation to us. And that's where I have a problem with the possession thing.
I totally understand.
I'm all for the tobacco.
Yeah, I think if it'd be appropriate, Mr. Chairman, I can kind of describe for the board where the genesis of the possession issue came from.
Please.
Okay. When we think about this policy, we think about enforcing the policy. The issue of how to uniformly enforce a policy like this across all of our operations was something we've given a lot of thought to. In our operations, we not only have people that work at the power plant that have a defined work area, and where contractors come on site, but we also have linemen, meter readers, folks that are outside, not on an OMU property, that today, without restriction, can use tobacco products. The problem that we came up against was how do we enforce a uniform no tobacco use policy for folks that aren't on OMU property. Typically, a program like this is a campus-wide, no tobacco campus. So on our facilities, our properties, no tobacco. But our linemen, our water service people, our meter readers, they're on other people's property all the time. And so it's very difficult for us to police that. So if we have a line crew that's out working a job and somebody wants to take a cigarette break, all I have to do is on their 15-minute break, which we're required by law to provide them a 15-minute break, is walk 10 feet from the truck and light up a cigarette. Well, if you work at a power plant and you have a 15-minute break, you can't get off the site in 15 minutes and back to your workstation in 15 minutes. So those people would not be availed of the opportunity. The possession issue solves that by having a limitation on possession. Because if employees can't possess it while they're at work, then they can't use tobacco. That was an easy way for us to enforce it. Possessing a tobacco product on work property, also, there's a temptation now for employees to try to abuse the policy. Power plant's a big place. There's a lot of areas in the power plant where people don't go. An employee can go there with a product and use it. And that's not the intent of the policy. So, we've given a lot of thought to the possession issue, and we felt that it was the easiest way to uniformly enforce the policy without making our supervisors, putting them in a position where there's always going to be this enforcement issue in front of them, where if someone's carrying around cigarettes or got a tin in their pocket or whatever.
So are we trying to legislate behavior, or are we trying to create a safe workplace?
Both.
I don't think the statute lets you legislate behavior.
Well, we're not.
So if
we're saying
the meter reader's out by himself,
people can do whatever they want to do on their own time. But when they're on OMU time, they work for the company.
So if a meter reader's out in the middle of the field somewhere taking a break, what's the problem with them smoking if that's what he chooses to do?
Because they
On their 15 minutes.
Other
Under
than
15
the guys at power plant are going to be envious that he can do that.
Right.
But how envious
People
are they when
here-
it's 2 below 0 and that meter reader's walking around?
There's plus and minus.
I just think that-
Yeah, no, look, I'm not going to argue that your points are not valid. They are absolutely valid. And as management, we've thought about most of those issues, and what we're recommending to you is this policy. Now, if that's not acceptable, then we can take the possession piece out, and we'll have to rethink how we're going to enforce it to make it uniform.
I don't have a problem with the possession piece if they're in an OMU-owned vehicle, in an OMU plant. If their truck parked in an OMU parking lot, and they got a bag of chew in the side pocket.
And that's okay.
But that's not what this says.
No, the policy says that you can have it in your vehicle,
Yeah.
On OMU property.
Or if it's in somebody's lunchbox or their purse that they doing from work, I think it's overstepped.
I think that, see, when I saw in the purse, in the pocket,
And we're not just talking about tobacco, you're talking about vaping too.
I'm not sure how, hey, empty your pockets. I'm not, sure
Yeah.
how you ever would enforce that in somebody's purse. Really? So how are you gonna enforce that? I don't know.
It may be in their purse, outside.
Yeah. I mean, we're not telling people they need to inspect their employees' purses or their lunch boxes or things like that. But it just, if someone's visibly walking around with a cigarette in their mouth and it's not lit, that's possession, but that's not what we're after.
Unless they're just antagonizing you.
We have a few that would.
Now that I would
Yeah.
have a problem with. Somebody having it in their purse, in their pocket, I have a hard time.
Yeah, there's one other thing that came up that made us also go this way, and that's the fact that we now have products that are coming out on the market that are not tobacco-based, but are nicotine-infused packets. And, we're not trying to eliminate that, but having a tin, if you don't have the possession thing, somebody's got one of those in their mouth, what's the supervisor going to do? Well, if you look at if they're not possessing, they got to show you the can and show you that it's a non-tobacco product. That solves that issue as well. So we didn't lightly put that in there. I just want you guys to understand, we did not lightly make the decision to put it in there. We actually took it out and put it back in because of this enforcement issue. I don't know that I can add much more on the topic.
Well, and just kind of as a corollary to that, I mean, we've all seen some of the kind of the statute or legal language around and are considered on what OMU is the policy as a whole something we can do. I've heard maybe, and I'd kind of like to get Pat's opinion on what that is.
Well, I expressed that in my email to you all, that, whether or not we're covered by KRS 61.165 may be an issue of interpretation because they use the term special district, and that is defined differently in different sections of Chapter 65 of KRS. But it is in some places defined in a way that would cover OMU. So you have an issue if you go beyond what it allows you to prohibit, which is smoking indoors in a facility of OMU.
So if OMU is so defined, all you could prohibit is smoking indoors.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We're so defined now.
Would it be, the hospital, I think they can run the same kind of problem. They're smoke-free campus. There's people that walk off campus and smoke.
I don't think they would be a special district.
Other than that, so, I know, but they're confronted with the same kind of problems.
Right.
And by the way, the question of contractors at the power plant, contractors over here at the delivery building, it's very commonplace in our industry now. Most power plants have no smoking policies. So contractors are used to, maintenance contractors, equipment contractors, specialty contractors are used to condition of their work that it's a smoke-free environment.
That's no problem, it's no free environment, but have it in their pocket, have it in their pocket is a
Yeah,
different
I
thing.
get the possession.
That's just a little bit, I mean, it's almost like you think you're looking at people as if they're children rather than adults. And it sounds to me like the policy is written about somebody in the ivory tower that's never been out there on the front. It's easy to say the guy walking from one house to the other reading a meter can't do such and such, but he's not up here in a nice air-conditioned building all year round. you
People
know?
all around him.
So it's tough both ways. I mean, so, but that's just, I think that's going a little bit too far personally. I couldn't support the policy the way it is. I've got some suggestions of what you could do to change the policy, but if you'd rather wait and table this until the next meeting, that's fine with me too, or I can make an amendment for some simple changes here.
I would prefer, personally, I would prefer that we make the amendments now and get the policy behind us.
Well, I'll just go ahead with my little suggestions here for what they're worth.
But it's up to you. Mr. Chairman, do you have a preference?
Well, I'm happy. If we can get a motion that makes everyone happy today, and we can get on with it, that would be perfect.
Well, on paragraph 1 and 2 are under policy. Everything's fine under policy. 1 and 2 and paragraph 3, first sentence is fine. I leave the next sentence out. Contractors' employees are not permitted to possess.
Strike the whole paragraph.
Just leave that, no, just the last sentence. Contractors, I just leave that out.
The first one says employees are not permitted to possess tobacco products on OMU property.
OMU employees are not permitted to possess tobacco products on property or work sites or while conducting OMU business.
You okay with that one?
I'm okay with that,
Yeah.
personally, because they're an OMU employee.
But that's the possession. I still don't follow that.
Okay.
But, I mean, that's,
Then, I don't really think that we need to define possess. I mean, they're adults. And then I go down and say, tobacco products may be kept in personal vehicles that are on ONU property, but smoking, and period. You don't need to say that smoking and other use is prohibited, because you've already said that. You've already said it in paragraph 2. So you're redundant there. The next paragraph is fine.
Except for possessing.
And I leave out the very last sentence. It says, policy violations by contractors, customers, and districts be addressed by appropriate sanctions. You've already said compliance is mandatory, we said, and our employees are going to be subject to disciplinary action. But I think the last is very vague. When you say you're going to address visitors or some other contractor about appropriate sanctions, I mean, that's just too vague. Because
So
anyway.
did she properly get your changes?
Michael did that.
Yeah, I think it's paragraph 3 in policy would be struck.
Are you doing it now? I thought you were doing it in real time. Are you not? You have the document up?
This is the document, correct? Yes. So I was trying.
Under paragraph 3, 1, 2, 3, OMU employees, number 3, I leave out that sentence there.
Then I got that paragraph. It said, don't define that.
He said keeping this right here, tobacco products may be kept in your personal vehicle.
Keep that in there, period. Tobacco products may be kept in personal vehicles that are
Strike
on you,
this.
period. You don't need to say the rest because you've already said that.
This part?
Yeah. And then he said strike, I think you would want this to,
Only be
or
property,
possession.
period. Huh?
Or possessing. You gotta strike that, because you're talking about possession, correct? And then the last sentence, the sanctions. That's what I have written down.
And then as far as the possess in line, the OMU are not permitted to possess tobacco products. I don't have a problem with them possessing it as long as it's, if it's not used, but that's,
well,
I guess that's,
possessions are not, so you basically removing that second paragraph didn't do anything, because you're saying they can't have it.
Well, I think he was, like if you have a truck driver that's delivering coal come in and he's got a pack of cigarettes in his pocket, that would not be a violation of this policy under your proposal.
that's right.
But again,
Employees-
what about the person?
An employee
First example.
would be. That would be a violation of policy. as you've written.
The way I've got it. It would be the employees, they are employees, they know they're not supposed to have it.
So they know if it comes to work, if it's in their purse or in their pocket, they gotta remember every morning, to take it out of their purse, out of their pocket, put it in their glove pocket. It's just, it's silly. Treat them as adults. You can't use tobacco on the side and just be done with it. I don't like the possession.
I'm okay with that too. I'm okay with that.
I think to get to that, all you have to do is take out that other paragraph.
Yeah, just
That
strike the
other
whole
section.
possession out, and then I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that one right there, then there's another paragraph, and we might leave in that tobacco products possessing, and that's all the possession references.
And I think that, this policy could be readdressed in 6 months, middle of next year, if we, you come to us with, hey.
You can amend
wow,
it any time.
You guys, we gotta put this in there. This is da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
But a step in the right direction.
But I think we really need a tobacco policy.
So does now the version on the screen represent a motion that everyone would be happy with accepting?
Well, the only thing says tobacco products may be kept in personal vehicles as on property. Are you saying that, do we want to say that tobacco products may be kept on their person?
Yeah, you almost don't need that.
I don't think you need that sentence
You don't need that
anymore.
sentence.
Don't even say it, because then,
You don't need that sentence.
because you don't restrict it.
Good point, Ted.
I'm going to show you the simple markup. That way you can see what I do.
We have further discussion, or would
And
you
would
like to make an
this-
amended motion, or?
You would make this part of an orientation, contractor. and
It's a condition on the back of our purchase orders, and it's a condition in every service contract that we have.
So I'm making a motion, we approve as amended.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Do you want to, Pat, do we need to take a vote on the original motion?
Well, I think we were amending the motion.
Okay.
That's okay, right?
Yes. So that's what you're doing. You're moving to amend the original motion with these changes that Tom suggested and you suggested. Then do we have a second?
And then,
Yeah, and sorry.
No.
I think Tom seconded.
I second.
All those in favor say aye of the amendment.
Aye.
Okay, do we have any discussion on the original motion?
Well, so,
Now we're gonna take a
the
vote
amended,
on-
so we're going to
Oh,
vote
amendment,
up or
yeah.
down the amended motion.
That's correct. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so now let's make sure we have the minutes correct. So the first motion that you approved was to do what?
To
Reject?
amend the original
To
motion.
amend
No,
the
the original
The original
motion
motion was amended.
was amended.
Yes.
I vote.
This was the-
Yeah.
So you only needed one
We only
vote.
need one vote then?
One vote.
Okay.
Only need
Guess we vote on it twice.
So the record will say that you approve the amended version and the amended motion.
The record will say that the motion to amend the original motion was approved. And then I think it should reflect that you voted in favor of that amended motion.
You did have it right.
I'm not sure. I'm just happy.
He's a parliamentarian.
I've been to a lot of meetings. All right.
Next items we have are the consent agenda items, and Mr. Chairman, you want to take the D 2.5 item out?
Or have the one vote.
I already put it out.
Kind of strange when you go and look at the 2.5.
I'm sorry.
You already put that up in the other
Back.
It's been pulled out already.
It's been pulled out? Okay, so now the consent agenda items would just be the items D 2.1 through 2.6. So there is no 2.5 anyway. We'll take up 2.5 in a minute.
I have a motion to approve those.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. What happened to 1.4?
It's right here. It's under discussion.
Oh, is that what you moved up?
That's, yeah.
So we're still.
So when it was moved, it was renumbered.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. So now we're back to 1.4, which is the determination of findings, including purchases. And I guess, Commissioner Cecil, you had a question
Yeah, the only
on-
question I had is, I'm a little confused on the Kentucky Municipal Energy Agency, the 115,000. When, the way I had read this, it was the 115,000 was paying our portion of them securing the transmission rights for power for that group. And that we were paying our portion based on our load requirements of that.
Hold on a second, I get the catch. Right in the middle of it. Got it up on the
Thanks for bringing that up, Tony, because I didn't really understand what we're paying for either.
Have it on the screen.
All right, so the way the KYMEA billing works, we pay only for administrative costs associated with the operation of the agency. We do not pay any transmission study costs unless we are taking transmission service from the agency. So the $115,000 is really, there are a number of things that the agency is doing. One, there's the administration of the agency, which means we have to pay our attorney. Our portion of the attorney is based on a load-weighted share of the total load served by the agency. It's a very common method on how to allocate costs amongst these. Okay? There are some ongoing consulting activities, one of which is evaluating renewable energy resources. The consultants have been tasked with bringing to the agency evaluated wind and solar installations, both on a large utility scale and on an individual municipal level, of 1 megawatt versus 10 megawatt size units. That report, we're going to pay a portion of the cost of that, again, based on our load-weighted ratio share of the total load served by the agency. There's a cost of meetings, so when we go and we rent a facility to have a meeting, we pay the load ratio share of those meeting costs as well. So in general, these are administrative costs and task-specific costs for which our ratepayers are going to get some benefit when we participate. In the past, we've included some of the costs that we've paid is a portion of the costs associated with the development of power purchase agreements that have optionality specifically for OMU. The Big Rivers contract, for example, has an opportunity to increase the size of the transaction by 50 megawatts at a date certain next year. That would be at our option. And because that benefits us, we paid a load weight ratio share of the costs associated with that option. So that's generally how the cost sharing goes. We are not paying for transmission costs.
So you're saying 115,000 is all administrative costs?
Yes. Well, administrative and these project-specific costs, like the solar and wind-related options.
But that's, which is part of the project.
Which would be a new project, but it is, if we chose to participate in that project, we would then, there'd be a new cost allocation amongst the members determined based upon how much of that project we were going to take to use for our load.
So you're confusing me again. So right now, there's 115,000 has, what part, you tell me there's a portion of 115,000 associated with the project.
With the two projects, step back for 1 second. KYMEA as an organization is a project-based organization.
Right.
So one of the projects they have to date is an all requirements project. That's the project where the 9 municipals that have terminated from KU are taking all requirements from the agency. We're not paying any of those costs because we're not an all requirements project. The administrative, the other project is the power purchase agreements. Okay, they're actually subsumed by the all requirements. We carved out an agreement specifically with KYMEA to pay only a portion of the cost associated with that option that is we asked for in the agreements. Okay. We also pay a small portion of the cost of some of the other contracts that they put in place because in the future, when and if we stop generating and we start taking power from the agency and sharing in their portfolio, we would be getting the benefits of those contracts.
So technically, that's a project.
All part of the all requirement.
Which is confusing me because when we took this on, I thought that you told us that we would not participate in any project unless this commission approved that project.
Correct. And we're not. We have not participated in any projects. The only thing that we participated in, we're not a part of the all requirements project. We did agree to participate in a small portion of the development costs of the power purchase agreement with Big Brothers.
That's a project. So technically, if we're paying for this, we're part of a project. I guess that's why I'm confused.
We're not in that project. There is a option that's available to us that we would pay for if we exercise the option. But the development cost of that option, the legal cost, the consulting cost associated with that negotiation, we did pay a small portion of that.
So the legal aspect, administrative, doesn't count as part of the project, even though it is related to the project.
They did not account for it that way. You're right. They did not account for it that way in the agency. That was all set up before we took over the accounting for the agency. We're now doing the accounting for the agency. And because we're doing the accounting for the agency, we're able to allocate these charges as they should be allocated. The $115,000 here is prospectively looking forward would cover the solely administrative costs, plus, and we consider these administrative, which are the special projects that are being done by the consultant, which is this renewable energy project and what we call the energy pooling concept. And the energy pooling concept is a concept where all the resources of the agency members will be pooled together for the benefit of everyone. And rather than, it's a way to enhance the value proposition for us and for the members. We basically share the output from the facilities so that we're dispatching the lowest cost generation facility to serve the combined loads. So those are the only things to date that we've authorized on the board.
So how much of that $115,000 went towards the legal fees administration of that project that we're not necessarily part of yet?
Oh.
Because it says it's estimating, it's just put it in the budget.
And how critical is the payment of this? Can we wait till we see an accounting breakdown of what's in that $115,000?
We can give you the breakdown.
Prior to we approve the payment.
If that's the way you want to do this, you
Well,
can.
it's going to cause us problems, what I'm asking.
It's not going to cause a problem, no. That would not cause a problem. Now, when the accounting breakdown, what I anticipated I would provide to you is a total breakdown of all the costs that we've incurred to date for the formation of the agency, and then the budgeted expenses that the agency is anticipating allocating to us on a prospective basis.
But not a breakdown how this $115,000 is.
Not a specific breakdown of the 115, but we can provide that to you if that's what you want.
I think we need that when we approve this.
I would feel better if I saw a breakdown how that $115,000.
It's not a problem, we can provide that to you.
And at the same time, maybe what these other agencies, what the other municipalities are paying in at the same time.
Yep.
With Frankfurt,
Yeah, their bills are very large. Yeah, we're, on a relative basis, obviously, they're paying, Franklin's paying most of the cost of stuff.
But the 115 is from an allocated kind of thing rather than specific project basis.
It's the projected allocation to OMU of the administrative costs of the agency.
And it's on the next year.
For the next year.
And that allocation will probably fluctuate from year to year or
Yeah, I mean, as things come up that the board wants the consultants to look into, if it's approved by the agency, and when the agency approves it, it determines the allocation, then that could be modified. So, for instance, if they said, we want to go out and buy a call option as a backup, price security, right? There'd be a bid that would have to be issued, the administrative cost of issuing the bid, evaluating the bid, making a recommendation, and then the contract negotiations would all be. Now, unless we would participate in that, we wouldn't pay any of it. And that's the way we look at each project, each initiative. Let's be careful about the words we choose. Because a project for KYMEA, the only project that they've authorized today is the all requirements project. The next project will be a renewables project. There's a transmission project as well. We're not participating in that. That's the network resource, the network transmission associated with serving the loads of all the other nine networks. We're not paying any of those costs. We've been pretty rigorous about allocating costs on a benefit of use basis.
And I don't want to be claiming that you're not, I just don't understand.
No, and it's a fair question.
There's always going to be some kind of base load that gets allocated across everything.
Those are the overhead costs,
Yes.
the administrative costs. Yeah.
And that's
That's
$150,000.
most of the one, I shouldn't say most, I would say half of that is administrative cost. The other half is probably associated with this renewable energy analysis that they're doing and the energy pool.
I have a question.
Yes.
Since this is under the 150, this was already probably put through, like how does, because your approval, this would be like a ratification. I was just curious how that.
I think they're just asking to postpone it and see the breakdown.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. Okay, so the other items that are on this list, can we dispense with those as well?
Yes.
So you'll
Move the
need,
other items be approved.
yes. So
No second.
you'll need to have a motion to approve 2.5 absent item number of whatever it is.
Wholesale power market.
Did you get that?
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, next agenda. Customer service. Customer survey report and stakeholder communication. Sonia.
Good afternoon now, it was morning. This is a report that we provide annually to you guys. It gives you an opportunity to see what we've done as far as communication throughout the fiscal year, but also where we're going in this current one. We always begin, and this is sort of my guiding force and those of anyone involved in communication with it, for the utility, is that we always follow this statement. We understand the importance of providing timely, accurate, and useful information to our customers and our community. We communicating openly with our customers is vital to the success of the utility, and I would say on behalf of our customers as well. The communication tools, oops. Okay. These should not surprise you. These are some things that are, it's using the right tool for the job. And obviously media, we do purchase monthly radio spots through both the communication groups in our community. We do that. We provide lots of different sponsorships and that sort of thing. We still have a very strong radio audience in our community. If you a lot of people listen to games, get their weather report, those sorts of things. So we've maintained that. We don't purchase television time by any means, but we do, as you know, have a number of interviews, and obviously our meetings are open to them as well. We do purchase 71 Magazine, which is a segment that runs 90 times on 71 Magazine. In essence, it's really our only local opportunity for airtime. So we do purchase that. That is through TCS, and we cover a variety of topics. Oh, it's okay. Obviously, Steve is very vigilant in covering our meetings, and we provide a lot of information to the newspaper. And we have lots of other online media resources. Web presence and social media, I've kind of grouped those. I won't go into a lot of detail here. You're familiar with these items. Obviously, our newest have been Twitter, texting, Instagram, and YouTube, which I'll talk to you about in a moment. We're involved in the community. I give you an annual report about all of the things that we're doing in the community and all of the sponsorships and donations that we make. But I do think that's an important communication tool on behalf of the utility. Other are bill stuffers, the ever popular. We communicate with our customers once a month, so we might as well include something in there that's going to be informative to them. It's a piece of mail that every one of them are opening. It's very important for us to communicate in that way. We have I didn't include it on here, but there's actually a message on the bill as well that Ben's group can adjust for us, and usually it mirrors what we're including as a stuffer. We have OMU signage and community signage that as part of our sponsorships and some things like that. Even our on-hold messages, I consider a communication tool. Obviously, these meetings are an opportunity for our customers to attend or to read the reporting from. And anything that we do, even including our lobby signage. Communication topics, this shouldn't surprise you. Hopefully you're hearing about all of these things in the community. Timely issues and topics, for instance, could be the cabin expansion, for instance, or rate impactful changes or decisions, and all of those other things. One of the ones that you're going to be hearing very heavily over the next month is going to be the public utility message, the importance of having public power and public water in your community. We do that. We do that throughout the year, but we have a specific interest and a specific purpose in October for expressing that. This is a typical media schedule. Obviously, these are not concrete. Sometimes things change. We have other issues that come up and things that we need to mention. But we do have an annual plan, a plan with the understanding that things do come up. We do have changes. For instance, we may need to communicate, in some communities, for instance, have to talk about water shortages. That's not something that we have, but if that came up, we would obviously adjust the schedule to make sure we got that information out. Analytics, this is something that we're able to get more of a handle on this year. You approved earlier in the year, and as part of the budget, a contract with Red Pixel Studios, and they are the designers of our website, but they're also assisting with some of our analytics and that sort of thing. So we get actual good, clean, and usable numbers for us to use in making decisions about our online communication. Twitter, I just said 200 plus tweets. If we had an outage this week, we're probably well over 225 at this point, and 132 followers. Twitter that is consistent with industry standard. There are a certain group of people in your community that use Twitter, but it's not across all platforms. But it is one that we feel the need to use. Our texting option is one that is also provided through Red Pixel Studios. We use that very heavily if you're signed up for those during outages and critical communication times. It's very, very helpful. That continues to grow considerably. As a matter of fact, this week I think we added 25 or 30 more of those. Facebook, we hover around this number. That is industry standard as well. Obviously want to grow all of these. One of the numbers that impressed me were the website numbers. You put all this information out there. I know Ben's group has a good idea of who's using the portal, But I will say that a lot of those numbers are due to the addition of the portal. They're coming there to pay their bill, to manage their account, and that sort of information. But they're also gaining additional information and able to look at some of the other topics. For instance, right now we're promoting our power run, and they can download the form and sign up and get the details. Our numbers will jump a lot due to that. And our app, we are still pushing that to people. We are still putting information out. Right now we have about 100 downloads, but we are seeing activities through the app. Initiatives going forward, these are some things that you've approved as part of the budget as well. We continue to promote our text promotions. It's a very easy tool, a very quick tool for us to use. We'll promote the app, and then we continually update our site. I don't know if you've been there recently, but our graphics have changed. Some of the things that are rotating through are a little different. And then I mentioned the rotating promotions. Our portal, Ben's going to mention this, but soon we're going to have customer sign-ups, so I think you're going to even see more usage there. We have a social media team that has assembled, and they are helping us with strategy, planning, and also to boost those numbers. We want to maximize the use of social media. It's essentially a free platform for us. And that's where everybody is. I mean, that's where I get my news. That's where I read the paper. All of those sorts of things. So I think it's very, very important for us to stay on top of that. Where should we be? What should we be doing? For instance, graphics. If you're a Facebook user or you're on Instagram, or even if you read anything, pictures get you noticed. So we've really put an emphasis on that. And then also, we are going to, August 1, launch our first video, which is The Power of Public Power. Talks a lot about, it's the power of public power. We also talk about water and telecommunications, so they're not left out of the mix. But we are going to be on YouTube and Vimeo. Some of the graphics you see there, we have a big push for photographs, and then also other items that get noticed on Twitter. These are cross-platform photos and graphics that we use. Lots of communication topics this year. None of these are going to surprise you. They're all the ones that you've discussed in your meetings and that we've discussed publicly. And there are always the other topics that come up as we go along. This is in addition to the general things that we always do: energy efficiency, wise use of your utilities, bill payment options, all the other ones that I mentioned earlier in the presentation. Now for kind of the crux of what we do, our customer satisfaction rating. This is a survey that's conducted monthly. It is done by the phone, via phone. It is still the most effective tool for the most accurate information and the best cross-section of our community. The data is gathered by Oppenheim Research. The reporting and analysis is provided by KYMEA Research. And we did have a plus or minus 3.9% margin of error, which I think most elections would like to have right now. Usually that's a little bit higher, so I'm very pleased with that.
Landlines or cell phones or both?
Both. It's whatever is registered within the OMU system. We have done a push, and we continue to do a push for people to update their information, their phone numbers with us. I will tell you that this is a random list. It is one that we just generate from our system. So if it could be someone that's had superb, excellent, they've recently had some work done in their area and their reliability has increased, or it could be someone who has had issues with their billing, paying their bills. So it's a nice cross section, and we're very pleased that when we report satisfaction numbers, they're true satisfaction numbers. Before I get to the customer satisfaction rating, this is something very important for me to watch and how we communicate with customers. Steve will be glad to see the first number there. Bill inserts continue to be the way that the utility is still an effective way for us to communicate, so we'll still use that. We also have on the back of that bill stuffer an opportunity for customers to respond with questions or comments. That's an opportunity for them to communicate with us, and when we can, we communicate back with them. You'll see all the others. The ones at the end that you're seeing are the ones that we're obviously monitoring because those are growing continually. We're still a community where we like to hear from our friends and family. We still like to hear from all those other sources, but the social media is growing and growing and growing, as I'm sure you know.
I just find that a very interesting statistic that Measure Inquire is higher than our inserts.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me wonder about the cost of our inserts, how effective they are. A subscription service is higher percentage of information than what we're sending out. I just find that interesting.
Right. I will tell you that our bill inserts are nominal. They're a single fold. I don't have those numbers. They're very small. You know, the newspaper is able to provide daily news and daily information. Our bill stuffers are once a month. So well, that number makes sense to me. But I know exactly what you're saying. I understand. So those are things we're still monitoring. If you hope you follow us on all of our social media and are able to keep up with that. We will wear you out during outages and during critical communications, but we want to be your source of information during that time, so you'll hear from us frequently. And like I said, what we're here to do is to provide quality and reliable services to our community, and this is one of the ways that we measure that. The surveys that you're seeing early on were annual surveys. For the last consistent years from 14 on have been monthly surveys that we've accumulated and tallied into a final report. We are at 95%. I would challenge a lot of organizations to meet that number. We're very proud of that number, but we're very aware of what affects that and what we can do to maintain that. When we talk about this satisfaction number, it's not strictly the Ben's group and customer service and telephone calls. It's field personnel, it's rates, it's communication. There are a lot of consistent questions that we ask about all of those things that roll into the satisfaction rating. So we're very pleased. One thing that we do watch, and they call it slippage, is from excellent to good. We did have, as you see, we did lose some ground there, but that's something certainly that we're aware of and we want to maintain.
When you ask people if we're excellent or good, do you ask them to go between 0 and 10 to qualify that, or is this subjective, what you think is good and is excellent?
There are several questions that go into this, and we ask them each time. We ask them on a 4-point scale, the scale that you're seeing here, but there are 3 or 4 questions, and then the averages are rolled up. So what we do is we ask the question, and then we confirm what that's coming from. Is it coming from rates? Is it coming from this side or the
That is your
other?
definition of excellent good, only fair report.
Right. But it is on that 4-point scale. But we do delve a little deeper to find out.
Yours already increased.
Well, 2015 almost looked like kind of a bit of an anomaly too. It kind of shot up there.
Right. And we have lots of theories as to what make those changes, but and then it's we've had a lot go on in the last year with rates. We've had a lot of information that we put out there with customers and that sort of thing. So I don't think it's critical. The lady who does our analysis, KYMEA Research, does not think it's critical, but it is something that we keep our eye on. We always want to see that excellent number as high as we can. Don't know if you have any questions or.
An increase in social media by OMU has been really impressive.
Thank you.
I think
It went from basically nothing
our website,
Well, we're working on that. We continue to try to cross-promote between the two. It's just one of those things that grows and grows as we put more and more information out there. I'm really hopeful that as we increase our presence there, we'll see more people. I also want to stress the importance of sharing. OMU can post continually, but what people like to read is that of what comes from the people that they know. So if you're a user of any of these services, sharing and retweeting is important to us. We get very, very excited when APPA gets out there and reshares our information. And one thing I failed to mention was that it's become a great tool for us in communicating with media. A lot of the media organizations I used to go through, for instance, during an outage and call, and each one of those individually, now they just get online and reshare and re-report that information that we're putting out there because they're getting real-time information as we have it. So it's been a great tool.
all right, Ben, customer service. Bill manager customer service.
And I want to update you on our customer service. And I'll start with our mission statement. That's kind of what controls what we do. And that, we added a word in it last year, the reliability. So that's certainly very important. Now, for us in customer service, as Stephen Covey said, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Well, our main thing is customer service, and these are the components of that. We're always concerned with customer satisfaction, and Sonia gave you the numbers on that. We're also concerned with write-offs. Are we collecting what we're billing? Sometimes those things can have a little bit of conflict between them. And also, what's it cost to do all this? So With customer satisfaction, these are the things that we find that control that. And reliability is, are your lights on, is your water flowing, is your internet working, all those kind of things. I took care of you, Chris.
Thank you.
And we feel like here at OMU, we do a great job. I mean, we have outages, you always do. Someone hit a utility pole yesterday. We can't control that, but our outages were controlled and we got people back on as quickly as possible. So, reasonable rates, we have some control over that, some of that we don't. And then positive customer contact, we feel like we do have a lot of control in that area. That's kind of the part that we focus on all day, every day downstairs, is positive customer contact. So, and the way we contact our customers is we're sending out billing every month. Everybody gets a bill from us every month if they're a customer. We're collecting the payments that they make. We're taking their phone calls if they have questions or concerns or need an extension or whatever other items they might call out. And then we're in their yards every year or every month reading their meter. So we have a lot of points of contact there that are potential. So first I'd like to talk about our billing. Like I said, with the meter readers, they're out every working day, and we read 50,000 meters a month. We run those through what's called a high-low just to make sure those reads are reasonable and appear to be correct. Then we mail the bills out, but now we also have them online. So we have a way, what we call e-billing, is we can now notify customers your bill is online, so they'll see it the day that it goes online. So that's kind of a step forward for our billing, because people get it a lot faster and they're not dependent on the post office. So now you can see our bill up here, and we put that in place back in the end of 2011. And we have a question on our survey, and our survey showed that 93% of our customers find it easy to understand. So, and that's really what you want with a bill, is you want to be able to easily understand it. So as long as that number stays up that high or even in the 80s, we probably won't look to change our bill, because when we changed this back in 11, it just causes a lot of confusion, because it's not what I've always seen. I don't understand it, even if you think it might be more clear. You have a window there of maybe 6 months to a year where it takes people a little time to get reorientated to a new bill. So we're happy with our bill at this point. So once they get the bill, they're going to make a payment, and these are the things we take: cash, checks, and e-checks are becoming big. E-checks are through the web and through the IVR, which is the pay by phone. We, of course, also take credit cards. Probably back in 2000, credit cards, I'd go to a utility customer service meeting. They'd ask how many people take credit cards, and you might get a fifth of the people raising their hands, usually the larger utilities. Now they ask who doesn't take credit cards, and you get very few hands go up. So it's become a common thing for utilities to take credit cards. So.
And there's no surcharge on that like the city government would give you if you paid your tax bill.
Right, yeah. Oh, we pay that.
After I retired.
Yeah. The way people can pay, they can mail it in. We still get a lot of mail. They can automatically have it withdrawn out of their checking account or credit card. Pay by phone, the IVR, that's an automated, so they can call in anytime and make that payment. They can pay through the customer service portal. They can come to the customer service center and pay, and we also have a drop box. Now that's a lot of times people that pay cash, because there's a lot more people that pay cash than I would have ever thought. So they usually come here because we ask them not to put it in the mail and not even in the drop box. So, or they can call our office Monday through Friday, pay with a credit card, and then Independence Bank also takes customers' payments. So our payment plans, now these, one of them is called budget billing. Sometimes people will think that this lowers their bill. It doesn't. It just evens these out. There's two different ways that they do it. Levelized will fluctuate a few dollars because it drops one off, adds one on, and recalculates it. And now budget billing is you get a payment, you get that payment for 12 months, and then at the end of the year, they'll recalculate it and they'll roll in any plus or minus you have, plus estimated for next year, and then you have that same amount for the year. So And those are typical in the utility industry. These are the payments that we take 24/7. So anytime somebody's, if they're up at 2 in the morning paying their bills and they want to do it by one of these methods, you can see our web payments have grown a little bit this year. I think the portal is just starting to catch on. We have over, I think Sandy showed over 7,000 people registered on our portal. So that's going to grow even more. And then the pay by phone, which is the IVR, you can see it grew quite a bit in this past year. So those are good things. Now, the positive there is, for us, is payment interaction. So the no touch is the IVR, web portal, the automatic payments. And no touches means we don't have to do anything. We don't need the labor. It's just automated in the system. So you can see that grew from 2015 to 16. Now the direct contact is where people come into the office or they call in. So those grew a little bit as well. I'm not sure exactly why, but those grew a little well. We're working to move that the other way. So you can also see that mail has shrunk for some reason this year. That's a pretty good jump there. For 1 year. So that's also changing as well. A lot of it's going to credit cards. So that'll do that. Now, this is our customer service activity we have answered, and it's for a whole year. You can see all the calls we get, and those calls come out to about 340 a day. We have about 104 service orders per day. These are averages. And then the credit checks and deposits are things that they do at the service desk every day. So, and I'll tell you how that's going to change here in the next month or two. So, next is collections, and we're working to maintain write-offs as low as we can, and we use the credit score and the deposit. So back here where these are, they're two of our main features to keep our collections low, and we're doing that again all day, every day. As people come in, we check their credit score. If their credit's in good shape, then they don't have to pay a deposit. But if it's not as good as they would hope it would be, then we have to secure that revenue. So we ask for a deposit. So, and then as people get into trouble with their bill, we try to work with them as best we can. So here's the results of our charge-offs. Now, you can see we dropped this past year down. And then this is the APPA minimum. Now these, APPA does a survey of utilities, but from what I gathered, only the ones that have good numbers report. So that number is probably, if you actually knew the numbers for all public utilities, it'd probably be higher than that. So we're probably judging ourselves against some of the better utilities. But you can see we are still in good shape. So basically what this is saying, it's we've moved down this year, and that's really 12 cents per $100. So that's very good. We're very satisfied with that. And if we can kind of keep it below, I think we've always kind of used this number. The .0020 is kind of we want to keep it below that, and we have the last 2 years, and we hope to continue that. Okay, so what does all this cost? Well, we meter read, all the billing, the call center, the IVR that I talked about, the web portal, and the write-offs. And ours is broken down into two different areas, electric and water, because they're two different utilities with different accounting, so that's how they're accounted for. And you can see we've stayed pretty steady the last 3 years, real steady with the water. The water's lower cost. And then the industrial medium from APPA 62, and you can see water's always just less cost anyway. So
Ben, there's no really industry standard criteria what's involved in that makeup. You just report what's included.
APPA has an actual standard. I assume AWWA does too. And they have there's actually a book that says here's what you include as far as customer service expense. So that
is a standard.
Yeah, that is a standard. And these numbers are in our financials every quarter. And they're using, from what Jamie's told me, they're using those APPA standards. So we're staying right with them. So we're very proud of that. I think that shows we're doing more with less, so.
That's a question. Are those net to what the sanitation and the regional water pay, or is that gross before what we charge regional water and sanitation?
I don't know if I can answer that.
So state that again.
Just gonna let
Include their bill in there?
I just know.
Yeah. Okay, so what's new? We are now working on a part of our web portal, the same group that does our web portal, a customer signing up online. So right now they have to come in. We do some for out of town through fax and phones, that sort of thing. But they'll be able to go to our website, fill out a sheet. We'll do any credit checks, that sort of thing we need to do. We'll call them back, and then they'll be able to do all of it over the phone, so they don't have to come in. And we've had a lot of utilities are moving that way, and we found with our new portal company, they have that feature, so we're able to add that to them. They'll also be able to turn service off on that same type of thing. So we did add e-billing. I mentioned that earlier, where we send the customer a message, an email, and it tells them that their bill's available online, so they can get it the same day that it goes out. So those are kind of things we're looking at right now. We also, and this was more of a Sonia and IT project, but a mobile app we added. We feel like any way that a customer can contact us, whether it's through their phone or through the internet, that's a great thing. So this app now, because it sizes our website to the phone, so it makes it usable, is really going to be something that makes a difference. That for some people, that's all they want to do is use their phone. So we're giving them that opportunity and feel like that's a good thing. Okay. That's all I have. Any questions or?
One thing in the future that will help us with write-offs and some of the heat that we take on deposits. And, deposits can be a big issue for low-income folks, especially immigrants. We require, if you don't have credit history, we require 3/12 of the estimated annual expense for our electric and water to be put up as a deposit. Now, we will work with customers to allow them to make that deposit payment over time, the full deposit. But the way that the industry is moving to try to get around that, and it's big. I mean, if you think about it, that's for someone that could be $700-800. And for someone that doesn't have a credit history, is making minimum wage, that's a lot of money. And we recognize that. So one of the ways that the industry is addressing that is through the AMI program, the automated meters. With an automated meter, you can see the actual consumption of electric every 15 minutes. And customers can prepay their electric bill. And they will be able to go to their phone and be able to see how many dollars they have left, how many estimated days they have left on credit with OMU. And that's one way that we can cut back on both write-offs and on deposits. Now, that requires a large investment by the utility. Automated metering is not cheap. And the real value is not in reducing deposits and write-offs. The real value is in the data that you collect from the automated meters, understanding how people consume electric, and helping them to lower their demand at critical times so that we don't have to, when we're not generating electricity ourselves, we don't have to go out and buy more to meet that peak demand. So there's a lot of benefits associated with AMI, especially if you're not in the generation business or if you're not long generation like we are. We have way more generation than we need to serve our load. So that's something that as we think about AMI coming up, there's another real big benefit for customers with AMI.
Thank you.
All right. Next item is the general manager's report, and I will just tell you that I have July in here, and it should say August, where it says July. Please think of August. I did this while I was on the road, and I just had long month. So, we had another great month in August with Unit 2 at the power plant. Unit 2 had no forced outages during the month, and that's pretty rare. So that's a great job by Kevin and his team. They're doing a super job out there. Unit 1 had some outages in August, but they did a really good job of getting the unit back online quickly, a couple days. So, second item, new regulation. This is one that's been on the books, but was rejected by the courts. It's now back and been finalized, and it requires additional reductions of nitrogen oxide. And for us, it means that we will have to buy more allowances during the seasonal and annual period. And those allowance prices on seasonal are going to go up. It seems to go up already.
Are they still trying to reduce the amount of allowances available?
They're effectively doing this. One aspect of this, which is kind of a surprise, given we might talk about the taking of the bank.
So one of the things, the system has always been set up so you can bank allowances and use anything previous to the compliance year. Well, this new rule for the seasonal allowances, it limits a number of banked allowances you can use, so it effectively reduces them. I think the number is by about 2/3. So effectively, if you had 3 allowances, you can only use 1 of those. So devalues those in order to ensure that they get the NOx reductions in the ozone season beginning in 2017, and people don't just go to their bank and use banked allowances as opposed to actually making reductions. So that is part of it, yeah.
So they will get more expensive.
Yes, they are.
They already are, Rob. They're going up, what, they've doubled in the last?
Well, just for their 2016, they're about 400, but beyond 16, I think the offer side was 2,000.
Yeah. But there's been no transactions probably at that level. So, all right, August weather. August was a hot month. It was 1.3 degrees above normal. We had a lot of rain in August, 4.5 inches over our normal rain, as those of us that are golfers know. The retail sales were about 2% above our budgeted levels, and 3% above budget through the end of August. And July should be August. But peak demand was 4.5% below our projected peak. So even though it was hot, that 4.5% below projected peak means that people are using a lot of low energy light bulbs and are being more cautious about how they use energy. And so we are seeing peak demand reductions. And Tim and I have had a number of discussions about this as we think about the IRP, Integrated Resource Plan, and our forward projections. We're actually lowering our peak demand projections as a result of customer behavior that is lowering demand. Wholesale gross margin, it was a good month, 23% above budget for August. The wholesale prices were greater than the budget, but the generation was lower than budget. So the prices were higher on peak, but we produced less energy because of the off-peak prices. And so off-peak prices, I've got the note here, our cost of production is about $28 megawatt hour. The average cost at night that we were receiving, or the average revenue that we were receiving, was $19.98. So in August, so that's a $10 loss at night. And that's why cycling the units down to a minimum, the lower we can get, the less money we're bleeding. And we still have to keep the units online because the next day we need the power to meet demand. So we can't take them off. It puts too much stress on the machines if we take them off. It costs too much money to start them back up. So we have to keep them on. And this off-peak power price is what's really hurting our generation levels, the amount of energy that we're producing. And then the final thing I wanted to report to you is that 8 of the 9 all requirements members have approved their all requirements transactions for KYMEA. The one that did not is the little town of Benham, which is in eastern Kentucky. It's only a peak demand of about 3 megawatts, so it's very tiny. And they have a supply deal with AMP that's in place. The city of Berea, which was kind of on the fence, had a city commissioner that did not want to join the agency. They have joined the agency. They signed a power supply deal with AMP, but are going to be a transmission customer of the agency.
Is AMP's hydro online? The one that did?
One of them is, I think. I don't know if Hamilton is yet. Mendenhall, I believe, is. I don't believe Hamilton's on yet.
I don't know if they are yet.
I'm not aware that they are. So the agency now, as a result of 8 customers signing the all requirements agreements, the power purchase agreements become effective. And so now the agency is on the hook for 10 years power supply deal with Big Rivers, 3-year power supply deal with Ameren, and a 10-year supply deal with Paducah. So up and going. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Lynn, and she's going to talk about what I think was a pretty good month we had.
Consolidated net income was 23% better than the budgeted fiscal year budget. For the month, we were up 17.5% better than budget. The retail system, without the ECA adjustment, we're up 22%, the actual retail performance. The wholesale system, fiscal year to date, we're up 22.7% better than budget. The current month of August, we were up 22% better than budget. Telecommunications, we ended fiscal year for 3 months, we're 66,000 better than budget. For the month, we were up 9,000 better than budget. Water system, we're up 149,000 above budget. We had some higher expenses than normal for August, so we actually were below budget for the current month. At the bottom of the box, you can see, based on 3 months of actual expenses and 9 months of budget, we predict to end the year at 11.9% above budget for consolidated electric system. The retail system with performance will be 8.8%, hopefully above budget. The wholesale will be 5.3% above budget, and then on telecommunication, we project 66,000 better than budget, and water 150,000 better than budget. Is there any questions on any of that? We've got a revised ECA chart this month. On Rob Leesman's,
There's a lot going on.
I know.
I love this graph. By the way, this
tells a lot.
is beautiful.
Okay.
That's a picture that paints 1,000 words.
Based on his wholesale margin, he does a cone for an upper and a lower that you all see in closed session projected gross margin for wholesale. So we added that cone to our upper and lower. Maybe I would point that out. We actually, after 3 months of actuals, leaving the $4 million in from the reserves that we're going to use and keeping constant the $10 million we expect the ECA balance to end at year end that the customers still owe OMU. You can't go that. So keeping those constant, we're down to, you can only see it in the orange, it's like a half a penny instead of the 1 penny we budgeted to put in place for the ECA increase in December. Now, based on Rob's cone I was talking about, we added the cone for the rate for the ECA. It could be as high as 1.5 pennies in December, or negative as 2 pennies at December. And that's based on, we changed our cone instead of plus or minus 15% from our 1 cent that we could add. Rob actually went back and pulled data from ACES and looked at putting in calls and puts and based on a curve from ICE, what we put on our puts and calls for our hedges with ICE. So based on that, if wholesale comes in really good, we could lower our ECA rate in December by 2 pennies. Or we'll change our reserves and not use them, the 4 million, or we could lower our 10 million ECA balance at year end with those variables, depending on how the wholesale performance comes along. So it could be anywhere between those two combs, but right now it's at a half a penny for December, where we budgeted 1 penny.
The way to think of the dotted red lines are, these are probability-based outcomes based on current market conditions. So there's almost 100% probability it's going to end up somewhere between those two red lines. Okay. The solid red line is the budget number. Okay. Today, if the market continues to perform the way that the forward curves are priced today, so that each month for the remainder of the fiscal year would perform as though they're priced today. If there's no change in forward prices, it'd be on the yellow.
Is the reserves contribution, is that gonna, it shows kind of a gradual, is that gonna,
It
is that
starts
gonna be?
in October, keeps adding based on the wholesale usage. Now, we won't true it up till year end.
I know the reserves go up fairly quickly to $2 million, but the project.
Your goal is to keep that ECA
So that
balance
should-
below 10 million.
And
So-
that will actually keep it at that nice smooth.
Right. And and that's what's happening. We're injecting those reserve funds to offset the increase in the ECA.
So there's no specific goal except to keep it under 10. Right.
And that ring line, the budgeted, that's not actual.
Oh.
That was budgeted for me in reserves, how we would use them.
We
But
can take another
we've come in
color.
better.
Yeah, we can put another color on there. Make it the rainbow chart. All right, any questions on the financial report? Yeah, I think it was a good month. Weather cooperated with us. So far, September is looking, a month behind. September is looking pretty good. I know next week's projections are for significantly warmer than normal weather, so we're expecting electric loads and prices to be up as well next week. So usually it's about this time of the year we start breaking to the downside. Okay, no items for action at a future meeting. Governance items, there were 4 governance items this month. JT rated a couple, I rated a few, didn't see any deficiencies. So really nothing to report there. Upcoming meetings, our next meeting, we do not have a work session planned for October, so just a regular meeting in October on the 20th.
Terry, I might add that we have a leader and OMU leadership luncheon on the 21st. It's not a meeting, but I hope it's on your calendar. You should have received an invitation.
Yeah, and that's, we've also combined our customer community luncheon with the former board members and general manager luncheon. You guys usually come to the latter of those two. We've combined them, so this year we're hoping a lot of our customers will come and you get to interact with them as well. I've saved a little money too, we don't have to do it once. All right, with that, unless you have anything else, Mr. Chairman, I'd entertain a motion to go into closed session to pursue, to discuss personnel matters pursuant to KRS 61810, one pending litigation pursuant to KRS 61810-1C, and matters which are required to be discussed in privacy pursuant to KRS 61810-1K, including but not limited to KRS 61878-1C, I, and KRS 61872 sub 6.
Motion approved. Second. Those in favor say aye. Aye.
All right. I'm going to take a short break.
So, 20 of these.